Hello and welcome. I am your host, Chicken Man, also known as Archer Kobielka, and here we have my loving father, Shane, and today we will talk. I'm not very good at this. Oh my gosh. Okay. Would you like to go first?
Sure.
Okay.
So I was thinking the other day, back when I was your age, if you talked about aliens and stuff, you were a nerd, and most people didn't believe in aliens. So what's changed now that aliens, the thought of aliens, if you think that we're the only people in the universe, right, then you're kind of, I don't know what's the word for it?
Well,
egocentric, human-centric, racist against aliens?
people have spread the idea of aliens across the globe. Even if they don't believe in aliens, they are spreading the thoughts about aliens and non-beliefs about aliens and anything not human related that has to do with space. So we have thought of machines that can travel across the galaxy. We have thought of paradoxes that complain about where are all the aliens. Newspapers have explained, there's been a new sighting of alien unidentified flying objects flying over this random guy's farm. And so
now they're called UA something, right? UA, unidentified aerial phenomenon or something. So do you think that's planned? Like the government wants us to become more comfortable with the idea of aliens, so they are promoting movies, television shows, the spread of information about aliens, so that when they are revealed, it's not a surprise.
But but all the TV shows and the movies you say that they might be promoting all usually promote killing aliens, or aliens are evil.
Star Trek.
Yeah, Star
They're
Trek.
not evil, and Star Wars, they're not necessarily evil.
And what's that?
Ender's Game.
Yeah, and Ender's Game. But millions, not millions, but hundreds of other shows, good or bad, also just show aliens are evil. Star Trek and Star Wars both include evil aliens, but they also include good ones. So I just don't think that the government thinks that aliens are real. They've brushed it off their side multiple times.
They're not hiding them? They don't already know that they're real and are hiding them?
Why would they do that? Why do they think us civilians can't handle that there's other people out there? Most people would be grateful that there are other people other than humans
I don't know.
that exist.
There's billions of people. So this goes to one of my other questions that I'm going to have. What would the existence of aliens do to world religions?
Their religions might spread onto us, but we would still keep our religions, most of us. But most of our religions would stay the same. They might decrease in people, or the aliens, now knowing of our religions, might also join our religions. So then religious activities would stay relatively the same for each race.
Okay, so I think the existence of aliens would do one of two things, right? It would either galvanize the world to work together better, or the opposite. Like, not greed, but say the United States is the first one to contact aliens. Then, like in the movie Arrival, you could have a foreign country who thinks that the U.S. is getting an unfair advantage with their contact with aliens, that they're going to get weapons or they're going to get some technology that's going to give the United States the ability to then take over the world, and so that other country then attacks. Right?
I was thinking that
So it either promotes world peace or the destruction of the world.
in the part where we discover the aliens and the aliens don't discover us, meaning that they have higher technology than
We
us
discover
humans
the
do.
aliens instead of the aliens discovering us. Okay.
Yeah, so wouldn't that make the aliens like role models for most of the population? So wouldn't they know that there isn't just one amount of humans in this little continent? They're probably spread around the earth. So they wouldn't just contact one group of humans. They'd probably contact all the groups of humans, expecting them maybe to have all the same language. So then once they start broadcasting
contact the United
English,
Nations.
yeah, when they start broadcasting English, they'll have communications with people in Britain and English-speaking countries.
That's right. They're only going to talk to the English-speaking countries.
And until they realize from one or two sources that there are other languages in other parts of the country.
Well, what if
other parts of the earth?
maybe Chinese is the most spoken language in the whole world, so they contact the Chinese before the Americans, or the English-speaking part of the world.
Wouldn't the country with the most land area be the most common to have been contacted first? Or the one that brings out the most signals or light into space?
I don't know. What do you think?
I feel like they would be attracted to industrial and carbon dioxide and light.
I think if they're on their way here, and they don't have like faster than light travel, then they're going to be on their way here for so long, years, tens of years, hundreds of years, millennia, that they're going to have plenty of opportunity to intercept signals and learn all about the U.S. or all about the world before they ever get here. So different languages, different cultures, all that is going to come across in our radio and television communications that spills out into the universe.
Yes, but it's still going to take the broadcasts so long to get from one place to another that they're not going to learn very much. They're probably only going to hear a few thousand words, and they're not going to know what they mean. Because if you hear someone speaking, let's say Korean, you're not going to know what they say ever until you see them like teaching you the language, like, or making hand signals at least. You can't learn a language from just hearing.
I think you can. If you like, I think there's plenty of people out there who have learned languages from television. And especially on television, because then you have some kind of reference points. You see an apple and hear the word apple.
But you're not seeing it.
Why not?
When you intercept a signal.
You could intercept a TV signal and decode it into the video and audio.
That's true, but usually
And these are intelligent aliens.
there's a lot more phone calls and radio stations than there are TV and video calls.
Sure, but they'll filter that out so they'll start getting radio signals first, right? Because that's what we used first. So they'll get radio signals, and or phone signals they won't generally get because most of those were landlines, and so they weren't broadcast. And then they were satellites. I don't know, but they weren't broadcast out into like the open, like a radio or TV.
Since we're not purposely broadcasting it out into space, anything that actually does get out into their specific direction, it's probably going to become more static or more corrupted as it goes further into space.
Yeah.
Just like how if you shine a flashlight on something close by, it's going to be bright, but if you shine it on the road out the window, you're barely going to see anything. Mm-hmm. Do you have any opinions on three-dimensional holes?
Aren't all holes three-dimensional?
I mean, okay, so think of a sheet of paper.
Yeah.
If I cut a hole into it, any beings living on that sheet of paper can't walk onto that hole. They can only go around it. So then, if there's a hole in three-dimensional space, you can't walk into that hole.
Why not? Could you jump into it?
No, because think of it two-dimensional. It's a hole in their entire universe. It just doesn't exist anymore.
So it would be an area of three-dimensional space that just doesn't exist?
Yeah. And how would we perceive it?
I don't know that we would.
So you think that we'd just see anything past it?
Yeah.
Okay, then what would happen if we tried to
If you
get
walked
to
through
contact it?
Say it was like baseball size and it's just floating here in the room, right?
Yeah.
And I walk through it. What would happen to me? Null space.
Would you just get like hit and you can't go through it, or would you feel something, or would you just warp around it? What do you think?
I think I would walk through it and then I would have a hole in my body and I would die. I don't know. What do you think? You asked the question. You must have an opinion.
I don't. It was your. It was
question to me.
opinion. What is your opinion on three-dimensionals?
So it's almost not a three-dimensional hole. Like a three-dimensional hole, I imagine is more like a hole in the ground, right? Where you step in it and you trip and fall.
That's how you would imagine it.
Right, but if this is like some other kind of weird hole.
It's a hole in space.
A hole in space.
You can see a hole on paper.
So would it be like a drain and things would just go into it and disappear?
Like a black hole?
Not like a black hole that like sucks all the stuff because it doesn't have any mass, so it wouldn't have gravity. It's more like a blip. And I think things that go in it are lost. So I think my idea that if you walk through it, you'd have a hole in your body. Depending on the size of it, you might die. If it's tiny, microscopic, then maybe it would hurt, maybe it wouldn't, maybe you never even notice because it's so small.
Yeah.
You'd have like a little puncture wound, and hopefully it doesn't go through anything vital. But even if it did, it'd be so small that, probably close itself up. If it's big and you were going fast enough and didn't notice it and walked right through it, I think you might lose that portion of your body into it. And if it's like baseball size, I think that would probably end you. And if it's bigger than that and your face walked into it, I think your face would just kind of disappear. And if it was big, you could potentially just lose yourself into it. But what would you be on the other side? Would you still be an entity inside that hole?
Would you become energy?
I don't know.
Because matter and energy, there's always an equal amount of both.
Could you be a matter in this hole though? Could you? But if you could maintain matter in the hole, then maybe the matter would just stay with you as you walked through it, and it would just kind of reform into your body as you came.
Think of a piece of paper, Dad.
Yeah.
Someone can't walk here because there's nothing to walk on.
Sure.
There's nothing.
But does nothing look like anything? Does it look like a gray, like that universe in the episode Remember Me of Next Generation, where Dr. Crusher is in a collapsing warp bubble, and the universe outside that collapsing warp bubble is just gray, nothing?
I feel like it would just look like air. You wouldn't see it until you run into it.
Right. But you can actually run into anything. And what's happening to the air that it's got a current to it and just goes into it? Would there be a giant sucking sound? Would it be going as it sucks up the air? I mean, it's not a black hole, so I don't think it would pull anything.
A plane on a piece of paper running into a hole where they can't go, because paper, anything on a piece of paper, is their space. So if there isn't space here, then they can't go there, because the paper is where they can go. So if a plane ran into it, I feel like it'd just bonk and fall down.
And everybody would die.
Well, depending on how high you are. If you just lift it off.
Yeah, but you're going to bump into something and come to a complete stop, and your body's going to want to keep moving forward at the same speed the plane was going, and you're all going to splatter against the front of the plane.
Thing is,
if the plane doesn't, like, pancake itself into the side.
we've spent a lot of time on this question, so just one more thing.
Okay.
Just a fact that I think is true. A hole in one-dimensional time just makes more dimensions.
One-dimensional would be like a string.
Yes.
Right.
So if you
So
have
a hole in the string would break the string.
Yeah.
And then you'd have two strings.
It's weird.
Weird. Okay.
Okay. Your last question.
Okay. So if a black hole sucks everything into it, what's a white hole do?
I feel like I don't think white holes exist, but if a white hole did exist, would we call it a white hole because it's the opposite of a black hole, or would we call it a white hole simply because it's white?
I mean, I guess it's up to you. If we haven't discovered one yet, what do you think it will be? When we decide to put a label on something and call it a white hole, what will it be?
Well, I feel like people would expect people to call the opposite of a black hole a white hole, so they would keep the name until they found the opposite of a black hole. So then I feel like since a black hole is infinitely dense matter, maybe a white hole is extremely empty antimatter. So then we could be in a white hole maybe. And we wouldn't know.
We wouldn't.
Because it's so immensely not dense. So there's just antimatter. And then a million trillion miles away, antimatter.
But we're a bunch of matter.
So?
Could we exist inside a white hole?
Yes, because maybe a white hole, maybe any kind of white hole is just any amount of space that has slightly more antimatter than usual. So if there was, let's say, 12 billion grams of antimatter more in the Milky Way than there is in Andromeda, then the Milky Way could be classified as a white hole. And maybe it doesn't have to be a spherical shape. It could be any shape. It could be the shape of a giraffe. And if we had a little container of antimatter, like the reactor on Star Trek, then maybe that could be classified as a white hole. And maybe it's not a hole, but it'd be named that because of expectations.
Okay. I tend to go with more a literal opposite of a black hole, and so a black hole gathers all the stuff around it, right? And attracts all the stuff. And a white hole would be like the opposite. So if you think like not a mirror universe, but an alternate parallel universe, they might actually be one and the same. And so a black hole would be gathering matter from our universe and then spitting it out in another universe.
That's what I was thinking, but that wasn't part of your question. So,
okay.
Back to your empty room where the universe started, because a black hole in another universe spewed a ton of matter out into the infinitely wide room, then maybe a white hole is where the matter went out, and when the white hole is done exerting matter, it just pops out of existence.
Right.
Or shrinks into nothing.
Yeah. Yeah, I could imagine that a white hole would be the impetus for a Big Bang style creation event, where a black hole became full, right? And so it then burped its contents into a neighboring universe that was the creation event for that universe.
Now, what would happen if there was a white hole in our universe?
It could be a star factory. It could be a part of space that it's spewing contents into, and then those contents reform into, as gravity pulls them back in together, reforms and becomes new stellar phenomenon. It could be just like a black hole could be the center of a galaxy. Maybe a white hole could be the center of a new galaxy, and it's creating all of the matter in that galaxy. And then when it poofs out of existence because it's emptied itself, then that galaxy is left to form itself into billions and billions of stars, and where it grows too dense, becomes a new black hole and starts the process over again.
Maybe the universe is the empty room that you're talking about. It's infinitely large, but empty in most spots. But maybe the universe isn't just one little spot of matter that's inside of the empty room. Maybe each white hole doesn't exert that much matter. Maybe it only exerts enough to make a galaxy. A galaxy. And
or our observable universe. And the next observable universe, which we can't observe, the next universe over, is the contents of another white hole and another white hole. But they're so far apart that in the short time frame that we've been here, right, in the 13 point whatever billion years, light from other adjacent universes has not gotten to us.
Maybe each galaxy came from a white hole, and then when the white hole was done, it became a black hole. Because it wasn't too dense to spew out matter, and when it became just dense enough to be a black hole, instead of spewing all that matter out, it became a black hole.
It's like a balloon, a water balloon that gets so big and so big and so big, and then you let go, right? And it spews it all out. But at the end, when it's done, it's all stretchy, and so it doesn't have any force left to spew all of its contents. There's always a little bit of water left in the saggy water balloon, and so that's what creates the next go around.
Maybe it's so impossibly dense.
We didn't have a chance here to talk about the infinite room, so maybe that's a future video. So, well, that was fun. Do you have any other questions?
I have one more. We're 14 minutes too long, so...
Oh, no, you might have to edit this down.
How long do you think humans will last? Humans as an ancestry, not humans as a species.
What's the difference?
Well, humans as an ancestry, we can evolve to become slightly different on one planet to protect ourselves from more radiation or more cold or more heat. And then those people might colonize a new planet and will change over time as we spread across the galaxies.
Original humans?
No.
How long will original humans, or how long?
The ancestry.
Oh, so all the changes? I'd like to think we last till the end of the universe.
But to the end of the universe, when's that?
I don't know. When all the stars go out.
Maybe we can talk about that next time.
Okay, that's a good idea.
Okay, I guess that's it.
That was fun. Thanks for inviting me.
You're welcome. Next time will be in 2 weeks.
Okay. Do you have other guests lined up to invite, or?
No,